From a comic book shop deep in the heart of Cajun country, I welcome you to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite not one, not two, but three friends of mine to create a list of 5 of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in, be it movies, books, TVs, toys, or whatever. Our own unique Venn diagram of topics near and dear to our hearts. We then sit down across from each other to compare and contrast, dissect and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience. We'll start off with honorable mentions, those selections that didn't quite make the Fave 5, for good reasons or bad, and then we'll take turns unveiling our choices backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You'll hear us discussing everything from alien invasions to zombie attacks, Rom the Space Knight to the $6 Million Man, Edgar Allan Poe to Stephen King, both literature and film adaptations. All that's left is for you to decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends after all this? I can't wait to get started, so please sit back, strap in, and get ready for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Welcome, Podcast Universe. Instead of the plastic microphone studios today, we're coming to you from Paper Heroes in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We're sitting down today with, like I said earlier, three of my friends to discuss a topic near and dear to our hearts. As children of the 70s, we all grew up watching Colonel Steve Austin. That's right, we're going to be talking about the $6 Million Man.
Looks good at NASA 1. Roger. BCS arm switch is on. Okay, Victor. Landing rocket arm switch is on. Here comes the throttle. Circuit breakers in. We have separation. Roger. Inboard and outboard, they're on. We're coming forward with the side stick. All looks good. Roger. I've got a blowout. Vapor 3. Get your pitch to 0. Pitch is out. I can't hold altitude. Correction. Alpha hold is off. Trip selectors emergency. Flight comm. I can't hold it. She's breaking up. She's breaking.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster.
And I've asked 3 unique people to sit down, make their lists, and have us compare and see whose favorite is really the most favorite. So first off, Patrick, welcome back to the show.
Hey, man, I'm on the wrong show. You said Steve Austin. I thought we were talking about wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold. And also, we're here with the owner of the Paper Heroes, Kevin Cincabano.
Hello, Jamie. Thank you. Thank you.
It just rolls off the tongue with you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And finally, least but not... No, he's least, is Chuck Swallow. The first time being on the show since the onset of the very first pilot. Welcome back, Chuck.
Hi, guys. What's up?
You don't have to get so close to the microphone.
Oh, you sure? 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot? Let me know.
Pick your left foot up off the ground. So, guys, we are going to be talking today about a person who I think had an effect on all of us as we were growing up. Who first wants to talk? Anybody wants to talk about Colonel Steve Austin? All right, well, I'll just jump in then. We were first introduced to $6 Million Man on March 7th, 1973. I think I'm the youngest in the group, if I'm not mistaken.
Are you?
Yeah, when is your birthday?
It's classified.
70?
68.
68. So I am the youngest person here.
You are the baby.
So you guys were 5 or 6 years old when The Moon in the Desert first came out on March 7th, 1973. Yeah.
Which none of us probably watched being 5 years old.
Yeah.
I think I saw it.
Did you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. My parents wanted to watch
Well, it's true. You're what? You 60?
6. Yeah, 60. 6.
Yeah. Then it was October 20th, 1973, same year, that we were introduced to Wine, Women, and War, and the most fantastic song for any TV series ever.
Ever created. Right?
It was so good that they could only use it once. Otherwise, its awesomeness would ruin you.
Is this a bizarre world? Fantastic means opposite? Is that what this means?
So make sure you stick around to the end of the episode because we're going to be playing this incredible intro song for you. And so then the very next month, November 17th, 1973, we had the Solid Gold kidnapping. And all we had to do was wait until January 18th of 74, just a few weeks before we got our very first episode from season 1. And as we know, there were 5 seasons to the show. It wrapped up on March 6th, 1978, and it would be 3,349 days before we would see a new adventure of a bionic, and that would be the return of the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman in 1987. And I know we all watched that. I think it was on CBS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that went over so well that in 1989, they had a young Sandra Bullock starring in Bionic Showdown, $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. And then in 1994, we had Bionic Ever After, the final chapter so far. Because I'm still waiting for another one to come out. I mean, you know, I check TV Guide every week.
Was it originally on NBC, the show?
ABC, right?
I think it was ABC.
Oh,
ABC.
they were on 2 different networks, Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man, 2 different networks, NBC and ABC.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bionic Woman was NBC?
No, I think Bionic Woman was ABC. I think.
And $6 Million Man was NBC?
I believe so.
Okay.
Because Oscar was the first character to jump from network to network.
Oh, well, there you go. You learn something new every day.
There you go.
Well, great. Well, I think what we'll do is just go ahead and we're just going to start and jump right into it. So, Patrick, why don't you lay your number 5?
Number 5 is Return of the Robot Maker.
And what was that one about?
That's the one where the Robot Maker comes back, the guy that made Maskatron, and he takes Oscar Goldman and replaces him with a robot. And Steve Austin's got to come to his rescue.
Good episode.
Good episode. Especially that twin Oscar Goldman fight that they have there at the end.
Yeah, that was cool because he had to decide which one to attack, you know, which one was the real Oscar and which one was the fake Oscar.
Yes.
How did he figure out?
It was that drop of sweat on the real one because he knew that the robot wouldn't sweat. So he attacked the other one.
Yes.
See, if it were me, I'd have just shot them both in the leg. See which one bled.
Yes, you got it.
Sorry, Oscar.
Sorry, man.
You got a 50-50 shot of getting the right one the first time, and if nothing else, you can just
You got
move
good
on.
insurance, Oscar. You're all right. Well, I read that he's mentioned in the sweat that there was an episode, one of the episodes where Steve was doing something and his left arm had sweat on it. His right arm didn't. That the Bionics didn't sweat. That was in a previous episode or something.
Oh, okay.
That they even, I guess, had thought of that before.
That's pretty smart,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Yeah. No. All right. Well, Kev, what do you think your 5th favorite episode was?
My 5th favorite was from season 1, episode 11, Burning Bright is the title.
The colors! The colors!
World famous William Shatner plays astronaut Josh Lang, who comes back from space and he experiences psychological problems.
Because of cosmic rays.
Because of cosmic rays.
Wait, sorry, that was Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Did he act like Shatner?
Yes. Fortunately, he did.
Awesome.
Yes. And he can control people with his mind and can do things with his mind. And there was one scene where he goes to a water park and he talks to the dolphins.
Oh, no.
And the dolphins actually listen.
Really?
And
Captive audience.
yes. And
Does he sing Tambourine Man to him?
I think he did, actually. In French.
In French.
But it made me think of Star Trek 4. Because when you had the whales...
Spock and the
and
whales.
Spock was talking to the whales. Now you got Shatner talking to dolphins. Basically just brought it all around again. And I remember this, when I was watching it, there was a scene where Steve takes Josh, they go jogging together. And it was that typical Steve Austin outfit where he's got the jogging suit on. And of course he has it unzipped down to basically his belly button, so you get to see the Steve Austin's chest hairs. Of course, that's what we all wanted as kids.
I'm still wanting those chest hairs.
Exactly.
Shatner was the same way in Star Trek. His shirt always got open for some reason, ripped open. Yeah,
that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's sleeves always get ripped off in a movie.
That's right.
I don't understand it.
Exactly.
It's like Kindergarten Cop, and you still get your. No, that was a good one. I actually picked that as an honorable mention for a show that Pat and I did, and that was just a crazy episode.
Yeah, it was just weird. And when he would do something with his mind, they had the weird sound effects, like. Just to let us know that his mind was doing something. Like we couldn't figure it out on our own, so we had to have the crazy sound effects. And
you're right.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chuck. Number 5. What do you got for us?
Okay, here we go. The $7 Million Man. Great episode. Season 2, Episode 5 of November 74. Oscar and Rudy, unbeknownst to Steve, create another bionic man. And don't tell Steve about it at all. His name is Barney Miller, but they changed the name to Barney Hiller because there was a show called Barney Miller, so they had to fix that.
They should have just kept that.
They should have. That would be great, just to confuse people. Because, you quite often would confuse a bionically powered man with a police captain from, the Bronx or wherever it was.
Captain.
Yeah. Great episode, though. Of course, Barney goes kind of crazy with the bionics. They get out of control. He gets power hungry. So at the end of the episode, they have to kind of tone him down a little bit. And I know we talked about this before, just in passing. It was supposed to be the first time they used the bionic sound while he was in action. And I know you said they used it before that, but IMDb refuses to
well, I'm sorry, but what is IMDb? I have more than 4 letters in my name right away. I've got.
And they had a sequel called Bionic Criminal. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. The next year.
Yes, with the same actor, Barney Hiller, not Miller.
Right, because now the confusion was. So Monty Markham did a great job. If I'm not mistaken, he was in the running to get the role of Steve Austin and then lost out.
Yeah, well, he was the first choice, and he couldn't do it, so they gave it to.
Yeah, I wonder how that worked out for him.
Right. Well, did they ever explain? Did they explain why Rudy and Oscar would keep that secret from Steve? Why? I mean,
they were just jerks.
Yeah, because
they never did.
I would think as a bionic man, and he works for OSI, he has top secret clearance or whatever he's got. Right. So you don't trust him? What's going to happen?
And not just that, but they actively make Steve. Once Steve has seen him and knows something's going on, they actively make him think he's crazy.
Right.
Oh, no, Steve, we wouldn't do that. What are you talking about, Well, I saw the nurse give the tape of my interview. No. That was just a ABBA greatest hits or, whatever excuse he used,
Hey, I go now.
No, you can't. Oscar, he was in the complex, which means he's got security clearance and a current photo on his ID.
Look, pal, I dropped everything and hightailed it down here because you imagined that you saw...
Well, what I'm starting to imagine is that 3 people I trust most in the world are gaslighting me. Now, I won't try to guess why.
So I don't know. I guess never understood that. Why wouldn't you just bring him in?
They're just a bunch of jerks.
Wouldn't you think a fellow bionic guy would maybe be able to help another bionic guy get through the process of...
Yeah. And so we didn't bring it up, but he is actually a race car driver who's in a horrendous wreck, and he loses both arms and both legs.
Right.
So there's the extra $1 million. I just thought it was inflation.
But that's all. It was just arms and legs. It was nothing else.
I don't believe. No,
okay. I think just arms and legs.
Which goes to show you, Steve got like a whole bunch of stuff for his $6 million.
Yeah.
He's a good shopper.
Right.
After that they just start whatever.
And they still jerked him around.
Yeah. Good
Thank
one,
you, sir.
I actually may have something else to say about that later on.
Oh, sounds good.
So my number 5 is going to be the Day of the Robot. The very first time we see what will become known to us as toy player withers, toy owners, I don't know, would be the Maskatron. But it's in fact Fred Sloan, played by John Saxon, who we just recently lost.
The great John Saxon.
John Saxon. And so basically Steve has been assigned the task of escorting his friend, Major Sloan, to an important test. And like always happens when you go into a rest stop bathroom, you're knocked out and replaced with a robot. If I had $1 for every time. Oh, my God.
So.
And so as they're traveling, we get to see Lloyd Bachner. I think that's who the actor's name was. He had such an interesting face.
Oh, yeah.
He played the Professor Wilson, or the Dr. Wilson, who was controlling, the robot. Steve eventually is starting to figure out something's not going right, but he doesn't know exactly what it is. And it isn't until the end of the episode when we see that face get knocked off, and it's just all robotics underneath it. And Steve is just, classic scene. I remember, obviously I watched it in syndication, but I can remember when I saw that, I was like, holy crap! That dude's a robot! Even though I knew he was a robot.
The crazy music they play as soon as it gets knocked off.
I know, man. It was so cool. I love that they were able to take that and turn it into a toy, but why they never called any of them Mascatrons later on, I'll never get. They called the ladies fembots, but they just called the guys, robots?
Yeah. And what a great name that was, Mascatron.
Well, Kenner invented that for the action figure because it's Steve, $6 Million Man line had no villains, so they created the name Mascatron and used the face of Steve and Oscar and Fred Sloan, John Saxon.
Yeah. That was cool. So I understand that the sound effects from the robots came from a 1971 film called How to Frame a Fig.
Wow.
Yeah, never heard of that. But I guess with Universal, they could go back to their, and pull it all up and put it together.
Is that the one with Don Knotts?
I think that might be right.
It is right.
Okay. Then yes, that's the one. I also love the fact that I'm a big Columbo fan. The picture that is hanging in Oscar's office in that later shows up in a Columbo episode, Candidate for Crime. So if you're a fan of both, you might notice that one little detail from the 90-something episodes that before.
And this is the episode when Steve's driving with John Saxon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts suspecting that something's off. And he starts asking questions from their past. But the guys are in the computer room having to type in the answers,
and frantically looking things up.
What would be the answer to that question? It's like, how did they have that answer anyway?
Guess what, Fred?
What?
There's a car following us.
You weren't so nervous in the old days, Steve.
There's a car following us.
You weren't so nervous in the old...
Ow! I couldn't help it. The rewind matter now.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a great episode.
One of the best ever.
Yeah, and it laid out for us what would go on so many episodes, not just on the Bionic Woman as well. And of course, then we're going to have that great crossover episode, Kill Oscar, where you see all the robots, all the fembots together at one time, and they have to battle them. Great. It was a good way to lay it out for us for what we'd see over and over again.
Definitely.
So, all right, great, Pat. We're going to swing back around to you for your number 4.
Number 4 was a two-parter called Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, yeah.
This put Steve Austin
album.
back into space and actually on the moon in the lander.
On the light side of the moon? where did he...
He was on the dark side of the moon with the flashlight.
Okay.
But what was cool about this was it had Jack Colvin that started Incredible Hulk as the reporter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the villain in this one. It's pretty cool.
Did at any point Steve Austin tell him not to make him angry?
He did, but they didn't listen. They tied Steve Austin to a pipe and froze his bionics. So, but that made him angry, and we all know what happened.
He turned into the Hulk, right? So this was one of the several instances where we find out that the bionics don't work well in
cold weather. Yeah.
And I think you out there in the podcast universe, all 6 of my listeners, have to know that we have sat around and had these conversations over and over again. I mean, it actually almost feels like we've recorded this episode before already, because we've just talked about all of our favorite episodes. But it makes you think that when they're sending a bionic man up into space, into the vacuum of space, that they would have done something for the bionics. Of course, I'm talking about a 1975 episode of something.
They didn't have Elon Musk back then.
Yeah, no kidding.
To plan this out for them.
Or what if he just had a mission to Norway?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Oh, well, Steve,
sorry, dude. You know?
Yeah, hostages have to die.
Yeah.
They'll have to use Barney Hiller.
Bring Barney Hiller.
Put the heater in.
Yeah, we fixed that with Barney.
But don't tell Steve.
Barney's got a built-in heat. Yeah.
Don't tell Steve this one has a heater in it. Got to keep that a secret.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. All right, Kev, number 4.
My number 4 is from Season 3, Episode 22. It's called Big Brother. Steve gets roped into doing some promotional work for the Big Brother program. Mm-hmm. And he comes across a young man named Carlos, who's kind of part of a gang, a criminal element he's involved in. But Steve finds out that Carlos has an interest in airplanes. And Steve takes him out to the Air Force Base and takes him up in an airplane. And the guy starts to loosen up and becomes warm to Steve.
Does he throw up in the plane?
No, I don't think he did.
Oh, okay.
I do know that they were able to switch planes while in midair.
What?
Because during the episode, I think they take off in an F4. No, they were in an F-104.
Okay.
And then midway, it turns into an F4. Then I think it's back to an F4 when it
F-104 were the Thunderbirds involved in this?
No, not this time.
Okay,
no.
Maybe it was a Transformer.
Maybe it was a Transformer. Yes, it was. But the interesting thing about this episode was they had at the end, Carlos gets involved in gambling debts with the gang members, and Steve at the end they have to play a basketball game to determine if Steve and Carlos win, then the debt is forgiven. But the gang, of course, doesn't play fair. Which was shocking. I thought,
a gang member not playing fair?
That was shocking. So Steve decides to use his bionic powers and roughs up the youths. Pretty good.
The youths.
Yeah, but then they win, and we all live happily ever after. But,
awesome.
Yeah, but I picked that episode because I was always an airplane fan. So
really,
and I remember that one when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
so I like that.
That one really stood out as being an airplane centric.
Yeah, and I would never forget anything.
No,
dealing with the $6 million man.
No,
not you.
Every minute there's been an airplane in the $6 million man. I've remembered.
You're that
every time.
Little orphan airplane.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet you that's going to show up on your list.
Oh, I will. Yeah. You know.
Okay, Chuck, you're number 4.
Okay, well, my number 4 was your number 5, so I'm just going to give you an alternate. As soon as Henry Jones was the star, I think, of Day of the Robot.
Okay.
Henry Jones, I
Henry
believe.
Jones.
Yeah.
That's the funny-looking guy with the mustache?
Yeah, I think
so.
Okay.
So.
Anyway, great episode. Like you said, one of the best ever. But my alternate for my number 4 is it's called Just a Matter of Time. Season 5, episode 13. So toward the end of the series, Steve is in space testing a new rocket fuel, and he gets pulled down to an island, lands on an island, and the people of the island are the ones that made him crash, and they make him believe it's 6 years in the future.
Oh, sounds like a Lost episode.
Yeah, Oscar has passed away. Rudy has gotten married, and the real OSI thinks Steve defected to Russia, so they don't know where he's at. They think he defected. But great episode. Come to find out, it's just a day later after he'd been into space. But great episode. It's called Paul Carr and John Delancey, which is talking about
Star
earlier.
Trek alums.
2 Star Trek guys. Yeah, great episode. So they finally figure out that it's not 6 years in the future. It's actually, days in the future.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about the show is it is very Star Trek centric. I mean, you've got Malachi Throne showing up as well. Paul Carr shows up, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of different episodes as different people.
Yeah, there are tons of Trek stars.
Who was Carr? Who was he in Trek?
He was in the Where No Man Has Gone Before episode. He gets killed by Gary Mitchell with the he uses his mind and makes him.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That was him. All right.
Yeah, he was.
Yes. Yeah. They had. Shatner, Gary Lockwood, Delancey, Malachi Throne, George Takei,
Renee Aubergenois,
John Kalikos, William Shallard, all Trek vets.
Yeah. Tons of them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, my number 4 is from season 1, episode 1, or what some people may call the pilot episode, even though we've seen almost 6 hours of Steve Austin already. So this is Population Zero. And as you remember, just exactly what I was just saying. Paul Carr.
Paul Carr.
He's the policeman who shows up to see that all 23 residents of a town called Norris, which oddly enough looks exactly like the town that was in the Andromeda Strain movie, down to the little girl's doll. But yes, I'm sure it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, that's a coincidence.
It looks like they've all. He drives up and it looks like they've all died at the same time. And before he's able to really figure out what's going on, he gets this like intense pain to his head, and he's trying to make his way back to his bike.
Get to the chopper.
And is able to put off, don't send anyone, until he falls out. Well, Steve goes in, and we find out that they are in fact not dead, but basically, I guess, unconscious. As Stanley Bacon, eggs and cheese, has created this device. It's like a sonic disruptor of sorts, and he's going to use it to demand $10 million ransom, because as an OSI scientist, he feels like he was wronged by them. And so this is one of the times, I think it's probably the very first time.
You sure this is not an Austin Powers movie?
It could be. $10 million. So Steve gets put into a freezer, a walk-in freezer, and his bionics start to freeze up.
There we go.
So again, laying down the fact that way back then they should have realized that there was,
right.
I mean, come on, just run. They put it in diesel trucks. Just put one in Steve that can run a wire down and keep his bionics warm. But eventually, he's able to rip out a gas pipeline and set it on fire and create himself a blowtorch to warm him back up. And,
of course.
Oh yeah. So then we have that great scene at the end where Steve pulls the post out of the ground with the concrete on it and spear chucks it into the side of the truck.
Didn't that make the opening credits him throwing?
I think it did. I want to say. And this is actually also not the only episode where someone is using a sonic weapon. The Bionic Woman had an episode called The Deadly Missiles, where they were using like a sonic jammer type thing on it. And both of them, they have their bionics start working weirdly because of what was going on. In fact, that same scene of the pipe being ripped out and thrown is used in both episodes.
Oh, of course.
So it's like, oh, okay. And it's also one of the first times that we hear Steve talk about people from his past. And this will show up again over and over again as they start to develop the character and talk about what he did before he was...
more of his history.
Yeah. So that was great. I really liked that episode. Even though they used that footage from Andromeda, I thought it fit in really well. And it kind of harkened back later on when we would see the Venus Death Probe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So who the villain? What was his name?
So that was Don Porter playing Dr. Stanley Bacon.
Okay, so you said he was mad. What was his reason again?
Well, he was embittered because OSI had failed to continue his work, even though he saw that the military benefits of a high-frequency weapon were there.
I thought maybe some Oscar and Rudy just didn't tell him something,
Oh,
hey,
no,
they would program.
They would never do that,
right?
No,
okay.
they would never
I know,
do that.
Oscar and Rudy, they were all about, front with
honest
their agents.
Honest men.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, Patrick, number 3. What you got?
Well, you know how I love those two-parters.
Yes, you do.
Number 3 was Sharks. If you want to see Steve fight a great white and punch him out, this is the show for you. But it also starred the very beautiful Pamela Hensley.
So pretty.
Yes.
Who helped us all through puberty.
I don't know. I was more of a Randy Oates lady.
Abdallah and Buck Rogers. but yeah, she could telepathically control sharks. It was a very cool episode. They had Rudy trapped in a submarine and
Sweet.
Sharks circling him. And Steve
not the only time we would see a submarine.
Did this come out after Jaws?
Don't ask me that.
What season was it
Jaws
in?
was 75, right? Was Jaws 1975?
Yeah.
So, 75. Yeah.
So he probably was after.
It was probably right afterwards,
Yeah, that's probably why
Well,
they made it.
and if I'm not mistaken, I think you and I talked about this. Pamela Hensley went on from this episode a year or so later to star in a TV show or movie also about sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that woman loved her fins. Yeah.
She wasn't the one in the beginning of Jaws, huh? That was swimming.
No.
That was her cousin.
No.
Who was that?
That's her cousin.
That's her cousin.
In a somewhat tangent here, have y'all heard the story about Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, opening up a cold case about a woman who was killed around the time of the filming of Jaws?
Yeah, I heard something like last week about that.
Yeah, and he feels that she was an extra in the Jaws movie, but they can't find her name because the person who was the casting director didn't keep adequate records and has died since then. But and this has like been going on for a couple of years now, but it's really, I guess, gaining steam.
So he's saying that this extra died during filming?
Yes.
And that they covered it up?
No, just that those two acts were congruent at the same time.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. It would definitely be something to go and look up, maybe even do a whole podcast about.
Cool.
But yeah, they think that, and he's actually, if I'm not mistaken, figured out who she is in the movie from reconstruction of them.
Wasn't she like a missing person? They didn't know where she was?
Yes.
And then they saw her in the movie?
That's it.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah. So it's an interesting story. I'd have to look at it. Like I said, it's been going on a couple of years now.
That would make a good movie.
Yeah. Interesting.
Call it Jaws.
All right, Kevin, let's hear your number 3. No, it'd have to be Jaws 5. Because they had a 4, The Revenge.
Jaws
Because
5,
when sharks get peeved off and they follow you down to Jamaica.
Where the water's so warm, they just bask in the glow of the sun.
All right, Kev.
My number 3 is a 2-parter. Also, it's from season 2, episode 19 and 20, The Bionic Woman, parts 1 and 2. Steve goes home to Ojai, California.
And sings that wonderful song.
Oh, man. Lee Major singing.
Gotta get loose, 'cause lately this life is leaving me cold. Gotta vamoose, 'cause lately time flies, but all I get is old. Got to have some slack, I need a quiet place.
You get him in the $6 Million Man. You get him in the Fall Guy.
Fall Guy, yep.
I guess they didn't let him sing in the Big Valley because he was too young, and they were like, "No, that ain't happening, son." But he goes and buys a ranch, visits his mom and his stepfather.
Right, I think you're right.
And he runs across Jamie Summers, who's his old high school sweetheart, and they go skydiving. And there's an accident. She's critically hurt,
right?
And she gets bionics, and they don't tell Steve at first, right? Either. Or does
no,
Oscar?
they do. Steve is
He's
like
the
forcing
one that pushes
them.
it to get her the.
Oh, that's right.
I've done everything you've asked me, type deal.
She was a pro tennis player, right?
Yeah,
she was a pro tennis player,
and so she's broken both of her legs, one of her arms,
right arm and ear,
and eye. Because I think it's crushed the side of the face, right?
No,
just one ear. Okay.
And so she becomes an agent, but she starts immediately having small problems, but she won't tell Steve about it. And the
like a rejection, right?
Yeah, rejection. She's having tremors, and of course, at the end of the episode, she dies.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, great.
Oh, yeah.
Baller alert.
Yeah, they go on a mission and it's successful, and they come back. They get engaged to get married and all that.
Yeah.
And then her bionics get rejected, and of course she passes away. You know, one of the most heartbreaking episodes
in the rain
ever.
Coming out of that phone booth. Google that, kids, if you don't know what a phone booth is.
Sound like a Ronnie Millsap song.
I know, right?
Yeah, Malachi Throne was in that one.
Yeah. He with his white suit, right?
Yes, I think so.
There was a couple of scenes I found were interesting. There was early on, Steve's talking to Jamie, and she tells Steve that they were going to go. He asked her to dinner, and she says, "Well, I kind of have a date. There's a guy she was seeing," and Steve says, "Okay." And a few days later, they meet up again, and she's telling him about the date, and Steve's like, "Yeah, I know," like that. And come to find out, Steve was following her.
Oh,
what? On the date, stalking her.
But the bionic stalker.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
And she didn't seem to really be that bothered by it.
No, she wasn't really that bothered by it. And I'm like, this is This guy went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
He's a colonel, Steve Austin.
Hey, he was just protecting her, man.
Oh, come on.
That's it.
He went to the moon. He's a world-famous astronaut. Looks like Lee Majors. And he's stalking her? It's like, come on, Big Steve.
I don't know, but
you're better than that.
She's pretty good looking, you know?
Yeah, she is. But you're Steve Austin. Come on.
The great
Come on.
Wagner.
You ever seen her?
There's a million Jamie Summers out there.
You ever seen her crush a tennis ball, man? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you don't make her. Ooh, yeah,
No.
that's true.
She was also up for the role of Captain Janeway in Star Trek Voyager.
Oh,
she was
that
one
would
of,
have been interesting.
one of the top 5.
No way.
Yes.
You know, in real life, she dated Evel Knievel.
No way.
Did not. Were they dating when they filmed that episode?
That's where they met and stuff.
That's awesome.
Really?
Which I never understood that episode, because why did she need him to get over that wall?
Yeah, she could have just jumped over it. Yeah.
Why did she need Evel Knievel to do?
Yeah, they had to. Well, I'm getting off. The
It's like, why does God need a starship?
Yeah,
exactly.
Because it was in the
Why does
script.
Jamie Summers need a motor?
Yeah, they had to get him to jump a ramp to get over the Berlin Wall.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's a great episode.
You gotta get her boyfriend in there.
I know. I have to get him paid.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, Chuck, number 3.
Well, my number 3 is Kevin's number 3.
Ah.
Same exact episode, The Bionic Woman, part 1 and 2.
You were reading my notes? You were looking at my notes?
No, this is my original, because your original wasn't that one last time. You changed it.
I never had an original.
What are you talking about, original?
What are you talking about?
This is
Chuck?
the only time we've ever
I'm the only
recorded
one
this.
having deja vu. I'm the
Yeah,
only one
I have
having it.
I don't even know.
No idea what you're talking about.
Anyway, like I said, this is one of the most heartbreaking episodes, greatest episodes in any TV series. You know, when she dies at the end, it's just awesome writing, awesome acting. And they made several more episodes with the Bionic Woman. Of course, they had to bring her back, you know, because you can't leave her dead. Too many fans were not happy.
Yeah.
But great episode. Everything you said about it, you know, just awesome.
Is this the one where they shot her into that planet? That Genesis planet?
Yeah, because then she came back like in her own show.
Right.
Well, they had to go find her first.
They had to find her first.
She was like a little worm thing.
Yeah, was that it?
I think so.
I'm
probably crossing
For some reason, I
episodes,
remember that. I don't know
It
why.
sounds right,
Yeah, it
though.
sounds
Well, you said
that's what I'm sticking with.
Well, you said Steve was spying on her. Well, when they found her, she was a little girl, so you had to kind of take care of her.
Well, that's even worse.
Not creepy at all.
No, that's even worse, Chuck. You can cut this out, right, Jamie? You can edit this out.
If I wanted to, I could, but I want everyone to hear this.
All righty.
Is this a cell phone prank call? Prank call. Who is that that just called in?
Let's move on.
So my number 3 harkens back to Pat's. I also chose Return of the Robot Maker. The return of Henry Jones as, like Chuck said, the scientist, Chester Dolan's. Again, I can't say much more. It was a great episode. So I will say some more about it.
Thank you.
So, we hear about Steve and Oscar's relationship because they're starting to, I guess, become pals. You know, even with the whole $7 million man thing.
Because they called him Pal just about every episode.
Just calls pals. And
We
so,
call him Pal a lot.
He did.
You're right. I forgot about that. I don't know. Pals usually don't lie to each other and keep secrets from each other.
yeah, no kidding, right?
Thanks, Oscar.
Thanks, Oscar.
Douche.
They even go out like on a double date or something. So this is actually, if y'all remember, this is where they introduced a new character named Barney. So he was supposed to be an OSI field agent, but he had aspirations of becoming like a tech genius. And so this guy had watched a few James Bond movies, I guess, and wanted to be Q. So he had actually made up a few things for Steve, like a bulletproof glove, which oddly enough was designed for the bionic hand, not his human hands.
And just the glove?
Just the glove, yeah. A bomb-filled briefcase, which of course references James Bond's briefcase from Russia with Love that we all know Oscar Goldman would get later on as a toy. And a new style of bulletproof vest. Okay, so they do protect the vest there, yeah.
Right,
and a pen radio, just like the one that Mr. Solo used in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing they figured that didn't quite work out well because they never came back to it. But this episode made me think, because of a conversation we had about the second movie, where they pretty much try to make Steve into a spy.
It's basically like he's a James Bond guy.
Yeah,
in the beginning.
And then they scrapped it and they went back to him being an action hero.
Was this
he's like
mustache years?
No, this was season 2.
Okay.
Season 4 when he has the porn stash.
The porn
Thank you very
stash,
much.
Yes.
And that's a whole podcast right there.
You think Farrah Fawcett made him grow that?
You know, I wonder.
I bet you. Were they dating? Was that when they were dating?
I don't know, man, but she's all over this show.
Yeah,
she's
so
like
it
in
had- yeah.
like I think 4 different episodes.
And 4 different characters.
That's 4 different
Yeah.
characters.
So it's
Plus, in the Fall Guy. Plus, he sang the song about her in the Fall Guy.
she was in the Fall Guy too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in a probably a 2-parter. Who knows? But
Yeah.
so this is Steve's. The first time you see Steve's driving his new Mercedes too. He's got that 450 SL. But then later on in $7 Million Man, we see him driving that awesome Corvette. So
You think he impounded that from some gangster or criminal mobster? They had it impounded as evidence.
either that or
Took
he
it.
just walked up and said, "I like your car."
Just took it.
Stole it
Took
from
him out.
Oscar.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? All right, well, another round. We're back to Pat. So that's going to be your number 2 episode.
Okay, it's one that we haven't heard about yet.
What?
It's called Day of the Robot.
Hey, tell me about that one.
But yeah, that's number. What number were we on?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah, y'all heard my number 2 already. I flushed though, so
Wah, wah.
yeah. But Day of the Robot, we already talked about it. Unless y'all have something more to say about it.
Oh, that was a good one. I really enjoyed that one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I did talk to John Saxon about that episode,
Yeah?
and one thing he told me was the action figure. He never got a dime from it.
Really?
Yeah, he was upset about that.
Well, I think I would be too,
Yeah.
because that is definitely his face.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
Oscar and Rudy probably didn't turn in the paperwork.
Another
they
lie.
seem to,
We're finding out who the real villain
Oh
of this
yeah, I'm
show
starting to
is.
think, I'm seeing things.
It's hilarious.
They didn't get it trademarked and turned it into Mattel, so John Saxon didn't get paid.
Didn't get paid. But he got paid for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yeah,
That's why they called it Maskatron, so they wouldn't have to pay anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Kev, let's hear your number 2.
My number 2 is the
Better not be my number 2.
it's from 1973, the very first movie, The $6 Million Man.
Ah.
And this is where we introduce to everybody, how everybody comes about. And Steve is not a colonel; he's a civilian astronaut in this
Really?
movie.
I don't remember that.
Yep. And there's no Oscar Goldman, and because Darren McGavin plays the head
Was
of
the
OSI,
boss.
Oliver Spencer. He's the boss. And you think Oscar was a douche? Oh no!
Darren McGavin.
He's like,
All business.
yeah, you're going on this mission, and if you die, too
Oh,
bad.
well, yeah.
I paid good money for you, but
Take the arm.
Take the arm, yeah.
That's
whatever.
it.
And
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that character was actually in the Cyborg book.
yeah, I believe he
that
was.
Cade put
Yes.
out, yeah.
Yes. And also the crash in the movie, when
Uh-huh.
Steve crashes, the communications is totally different than the credits that we, the TV credits where,
Yeah.
she's breaking up, none of that's in the movie.
Wow.
It's a lot more prolonged and it's a lot different.
Yeah. And now, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but
Yeah.
isn't that actual footage of a crash?
Yeah, that's a real
experimental plane.
flight. Yeah, and that was. And that, from what I read, that crash, it just looks worse than it actually is.
Uh-huh.
But,
Really?
yeah, because the guy survived.
Because it looked worse.
Yeah, it looked good. That's exactly right. But,
Yeah.
And I know Steve was, like in this episode, he was really depressed when he finds out. He even tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because he's in the hospital bed and he tries to pull the some tube out, and the nurse saves him, who was in Star Trek.
Yeah.
It was the blonde from the episode about the play when they had the old man.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Requiem for Methuselah.
Yes,
Yes.
that one. She.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. Right. And Steve goes out on a date with her and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't stalk this one. I don't think he did.
She didn't have that Jamie quality.
I guess she didn't have that Jane. Yeah, they weren't high school sweethearts or whatever. But yeah, this is the very first one. I really like it. It even holds up even today.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
So it's a while into it before he really starts to do bionics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have the crash and everything, and then when he wakes up, they don't add it to him right away, right? Am I right, or do they?
No, I thought he was unconscious.
He was from the crash.
They decided to do it.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because he wakes up and he's angry because he doesn't want the bionics.
Yeah,
right?
he doesn't want it.
He's angry that yes.
Yeah, and that's when he just didn't want any of that. Yeah.
But then Oscar shows up later and convinces him that it was a good idea.
Oscar's a good liar. You know, he smoothed it over.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well then, Chuck.
All right.
What's your number 2?
Number 2. I think it's probably my favorite compared to my number 1. If I didn't have the number 1,
wait. Are you saying that your number 2 is your favorite?
And my number 1 is my number 2.
Oh, okay.
But 3 and 4 are kind of good too, so I might move them to number 7 or 8. You know, just
next time I'm just going to bring a dry erase board.
You can edit Chuck out this whole podcast, can't you?
Yes.
Oh, of course. I'm just here as background noise.
Yes.
So is it Death Probe Part 1 and Part 2?
And Part 2 because it was 2 parters again. Patrick's favorite, Season 4, Episode 13-14, 1977, Star Wars.
Yeah.
A Russian probe crash lands in Wyoming.
Yep.
Why Wyoming? We don't know, but it does. Steve and Oscar are dispatched to go check it out and see what's going on.
Yeah, like Oscar's really going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's this incredible probe that's pretty much indestructible.
So you designed the space probe?
Yes. It was supposed to land on Venus. We still don't know what went wrong.
Why all the secrecy? Why Popov and all of his agents?
It's made out of a new alloy, a supermech. Major Popov is not in favor of the sharing of scientific discoveries, so he brought along a missile that could destroy it.
It was sent to Venus, right?
Yeah, and it crash land on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, correct.
Man, that was off course.
Oh,
what?
Big time, huh?
I mean, nobody goes to Wyoming on purpose.
Yeah.
Take a left turn at Mars and then hit
Straight to Wyoming.
But it's pretty much indestructible. Of course, Steve has to fight it. And as a kid, this thing scared the crap out of me.
Yes.
It was scary.
And what a great toy.
Which nobody ever owned because it was so rare.
So rare.
But of course, Steve ends up figuring out a way to stop it.
Death from above.
John Delancey's in this one too. Another episode with John Delancey.
Excuse me. You asked to be kept informed of Major Popov's condition, miss?
Yes, how is he?
Well, he's got a concussion, maybe a fractured rib. He's going to be out for a couple of hours. Or days.
Days?
Mr. Goldman would like to see you, Colonel.
Thank you.
The famous Q. But great episode, just scary and fun. And of course, they made a sequel, right? Return of Death Probe or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or the $7 million Death Probe.
$7 million. Oh, it might have been 8 by then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, do you think it crashed because the Russians, it was out in the cold and it malfunctioned?
It could be.
The bionics weren't quite working right.
Nobody thought about that when they were shooting it out into space.
Yeah, nobody thought of that.
We're too hard on Rudy and Oscar. We really are.
And this thing was huge.
It was. And it's got that arm that comes out, and
with blades and all kind of stuff, and the noise. Patrick probably knows the noise.
Can you do it for us, Patrick?
Come on, Patrick.
Oh, that sounds great.
But it was awesome. It was awesome. As a kid, it was awesome. Great.
Yeah, good episode. All right, well, my number 2 is the $7 Million Man and the Bionic Criminal, the follow-up.
There you go.
So we haven't talked too much about the follow-up episode. So basically we find out that Monty Markham's character in this episode, called Barney Hiller, has gone back to racing. He has his bionics turned back down to normal, and he kind of gets involved in some things that he really shouldn't be.
A little shady?
Yeah, a little shady. He still has the girlfriend, Carla Peterson, played by Maggie Sullivan. So he has to get his powers reactivated, and I think he's going to do a bank robbery or something to pay the guys off. And Steve is able to help him out, and at the very end they have that huge fight.
Yeah.
Steve is able to defeat him and stop the bad guys as well, and then they figure out one more time they're going to turn his bionics back down. I would break the switch off at that point and say, yeah, no, Barney, you're good. Yeah.
And we never saw him again.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the episode where he thinks he kills a security guard or something? He thinks he kills somebody, right?
Yes.
And so he takes off when the guy wasn't dead.
Right.
But he
was
thinks
just knocked
out. So now he goes on the run and he has to get money, right? That's the reason he has to get the money?
Yes.
Or something? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds right. So, again, this is the one where the project, which is actually kind of a throwback to the book, they actually mentioned the name of the project, which is Project Cyborg, which was Martin Caden's book. And Austin points out to Barney that if Oscar had agreed with his plans earlier, there would be a third cyborg, which this takes place before Jamie.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like a foreshadowing of that. And then, of course, they build a dog, and then they build a boy, and then later on they build a young woman, and Sandra Bullock. Yeah. And so it's just like, man, of course, no wonder our taxes are so high.
Vincent Van Patten was the bionic boy.
Yes.
Well, how do we know there wasn't a third rent at that time? Oscar probably wouldn't have told anybody.
We don't. Yeah. Oscar might not have even told Rudy about it.
Yeah,
that's
Rudy
how
built it, and that's how good it was.
That's how good
he convinced Rudy it didn't even happen.
No, that didn't happen,
he built
dude.
That sucker.
No, you dreamt that.
Rudy forgot.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was the other Rudy.
Yeah, true. There were two,
which we haven't even talked about.
Rudy or whatever. Martin Balsam Rudy.
Oh, that was crazy.
Don't forget, Bigfoot was a robot too, bionic.
That's true, but he was built by aliens. So. I did see too that Monty appeared in an episode of Virginian back in 1970, one season before Lee Majors joined it. So had they done that a little differently, they'd have actually been on the same one. And Monty Markham is reunited on a 1982 two-part episode of The Fall Guy called License to Kill.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, okay. So I really would want to go back and watch Fall Guy and see how much of this stuff is a little wink, wink, nod, nod to what he had been doing on $6 Million Man.
He recycled some old $6 Million Man episodes.
Yeah,
just the actors.
And he was a stunt man instead of a
a bounty hunter. Yeah,
a bionic stunt man. That would have been cool.
Stunt man.
Yeah. And of course, you can't talk about what other projects Lee Majors did without talking about Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know if y'all
the father.
Yes, as the dad.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Creepy dude, too.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't die?
They
killed him like 3 times. He kept coming back.
All right. Well, so we are now ready to do our...
Unveil the...
number 1 favorite episodes of each person here. Pat, why don't you kick it off?
Well, mine's a secret.
Okay, well, you need to tell us, or else,
I am telling you. It's the secret of Bigfoot.
Oh, wait. That's my number 1.
Okay, Kevin?
That's my number 1.
I'm thinking, is that your number 1, Kevin?
No, of course not.
Okay.
No.
It's my number 1.
Really?
So we need to talk about this number. Kevin, you can leave.
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Go get us some. Go get us some waters or something.
Let Kevin go first, since his is odd.
Well,
do I go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
What's your number one?
Mine was a given.
Thunderbirds?
There was no doubt about it. It was going to be what it was going to be. No matter what world we were in.
Yeah.
It's season 4, episode 9, the Thunderbird Connection.
No way!
I mean, come on.
Come on. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
forgot about that episode.
I mean, come on.
Are there airplanes in that?
Yes, of course there's airplanes.
Okay.
Why do you think I picked it? I wanted it to be 1 through 5, but Jake wouldn't let me do it.
Are they F4s or F104s?
No, they're T-38s. And they stay T-38s, surprisingly.
The whole episode?
Yes. I mean,
Both episodes, right?
Both
because
episodes.
it's another two-parter.
Another two-parter, which originally was not a two-parter, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was a 2-hour. I believe when I read I think it was when I read about it.
Oh, so you looked this up? You read it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
You read?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
So tell us about this.
Well, the State Department sends the Thunderbirds over to a Middle Eastern country because there's a young prince that's going to be killed.
Probably a fake Middle Eastern country.
Yes.
They would never say.
It's like, what's the name of it? Burdabi.
Burdabi, okay.
Burdabistan,
yeah, exactly. Well, they send Steve to try to rescue it, so he has to go undercover as a Thunderbird pilot. And he goes flying. He has to train with the Thunderbirds. And
because you could just pick that up in just a couple of days.
Well, this is what I didn't understand about this episode. And he was a pilot, so yeah, flying the plane's not a problem.
Right.
So he has to train to be a Thunderbird pilot and fly in formation. But why didn't they just put in the position of the advanced guy, the narrator, who doesn't fly at all with the formation? So he can fly by himself, get there a day early, like the narrator does all the time, still be a Thunderbird. They're not going to know any difference.
Yeah.
He lands, do the mission, Thunderbirds come. So, well, of course, the episode would have been about 30 minutes long. But, but I didn't understand that. I was like, who thought this must have been Oscar? You know, Oscar. He's not very good. But, yeah, that was the episode. But as he's flying, he becomes, he has a malfunction in his bionics.
Oh, really?
And it's not because of cold this time.
Oh, I was actually, was it cold?
Did he have a slushie in his hand?
He might have had a slushie in his hand. That's
he stopped at Sonic on the way there.
It was because the Cold War was going on.
Oh,
that's what it was.
Look at that one, pulling it from the dome.
Look at that. Look at Patrick. What I found interesting watching this episode again, which, even though it was in the 70s, I thought, this episode today, I don't think the incels would have liked it too much. Because there's a female in this episode. She was a pilot. She was an Air Force pilot.
Oh,
now,
really?
I don't remember this. And she's like the best of the best. And at the end, when Steve's limping in because he's having his problems again, she helps him land the plane. And everything. She basically saves the day.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, today, all the little young incels, they would lose their mind. Because of the big, strong female helping the strong man out. And I was like, wow, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah, so social justice is just running the show.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh, that is cool, though, that they would do that back in the day.
Yeah, even back then. But we didn't have internet back then, so nobody knew any difference.
Cared.
Nobody cared.
I'm going to get on the internet right now, and I'm going to write a post about this.
Yes, exactly. And then the thing is, the plan was, a T-38's a pretty small plane.
Yeah. Now, they do have the trainer that has 2 seats,
The two-seater, right. But they couldn't do that because the Thunderbirds didn't have a two-seater.
Oh.
No, they were all two-seaters. I'm sorry. No, never mind. Yeah, T-38s are all two-seaters. But they were going to whisk the Prince out by putting him in the nose of the airplane. So they took out a bunch of the avionics, and they were going to stick him in there and close it.
Totally makes sense.
Totally makes sense, which I'm thinking, all right, he's flying up maneuvers. This poor kid going to be vomiting all over the place. I mean,
and here comes the Thunderbird trail. Yeah. Wait a minute, that's not smoke.
So he's going to be doing a demo with this Prince in there, throwing up his headbang. They landed back in the United States. He's probably dead by the time they get him back. And I thought, man.
Wait, did nobody give him an air mask? Come on.
Well, he was
some
the fifth bionic person they were going to make.
There you go.
Maybe that was Oscar's plan all along. Yes. Maybe we can kill him. Yeah, and don't tell Steve we're making him on.
No, of course not.
But as you know, that was a given. That was going to be my first episode.
Of course.
No matter what. I mean,
I knew that Thunderbirds was going to be on your list.
Yeah.
I could have sworn.
What kind of idiot that likes airplanes would not pick that
right?
as his first episode?
Come on.
I mean,
please.
What weird parallel universe?
Yeah, I could have sworn we did this before and that wasn't even in your mind.
Stop with your crazy talk.
That's crazy talk.
Stop with your crazy. I don't know what you've been smoking. That would never happen.
No deja vu, Patrick. None at all.
Jamie's never had technical. Jamie knows this equipment like the back of his hand,
and all of the equipment is here too.
He's like Scotty and Scotty.
That's why it only took us. That's why it only took us 4 times to do this.
Okay, first of all, it's only 3 times.
This is number 4. We had to bail last time.
This part's getting edited out. I just want you to know.
I'd take him out the whole show.
The whole show.
Background noise. What's that buzzing you hear?
let me turn on the swallow filter here and
like the Star Trek episode. You hear the bzzz. I'm moving faster than.
Yes.
All right. Number 1 from us 3.
That's right. Secret of Bigfoot, Part 1 and Part 2.
There you go.
And I just have to tell you, thank you, Kevin. As we sit here in Paper Heroes, Kevin has got the episode actually streaming from, what is that called, Peacock?
NBC.
The NBC?
I have it on NBC's app right now.
Okay, I thought
but it's on Peacock too, I believe.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it is,
okay. Yeah, and so we're already into episode Part 2, where they're about to blow up the nuclear bomb.
We've already seen him throw the post, right?
Right, because they were watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually, so you see that in 3 different episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Season 3, 1976.
Yes. I'm sorry, we were getting distracted by watching the episode.
Yeah.
So this one was written by Kenneth Johnson himself, and both episodes were directed by Alec Crossland.
Okay.
So, of course, Kenneth Johnson is got his fingerprint in just about every different action superhero show that came out in the 70s.
Did he do the Hulk?
I think he did.
That was the Hulk?
And V.
V?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and some others. I think he worked on A-Team, maybe. I don't know, but he's kind of like Stephen J. Cannella with his.
Yeah, you,
you know, you see his name everywhere. Yeah,
Pop him out right and left.
Yeah.
I talked to Kenneth Johnson one time in emails.
Of course you did.
And I asked him
Name drop
if he kept anything from any of the shows he did, and he said he has the key from V. Remember that key that Donovan found to open that secret compartment?
Right.
He has it on his desk at work. So.
No way.
Sweet.
That's awesome. So, okay. Break down the what's going on. Yeah, we keep looking at the TV.
Well, Steve gets assigned to go find his missing scientist friends who are doing research up in the California mountains. I don't know.
Yep,
which
Ivan and Marlene.
Research, right?
And they disappear, so Steve has to go try to find them. What happened to them? And they learn that there's a space colony living in one of the mountains.
Is that something Oscar didn't tell him about either?
Probably. Actually, this is the one time that Steve knows something, and he didn't tell Oscar and Rudy about it.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either,
payback, man.
You know?
Yeah. Anyway, Steve goes, tries to find his friends. Oscar's already there, of course. They're supposed to set off a small seismic charge to stop
a nuclear charge. Yeah, because that's
a bigger one.
That's the go-to when you want to,
Yeah, really.
To stop the big one, you got to set off a small one, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And
that's
Steve encounters Bigfoot, the incredible Andre the Giant.
Oh, so we are talking about wrestling on this episode.
He is, yes.
You've been waiting like 45 minutes to use that one, haven't you? He's got that self-important smile on his face.
Anyway, they have a big fight
a huge fight where he rips the arm off of Bigfoot, and Bigfoot still
comes after him,
knocks him down. But then he kind of takes off into the woods, and he runs into the cave. Steve follows him into the cave, but no, Bigfoot's gone. So he figures out how to, finally there's like a hidden panel or something, and opens it up, and we see that incredible tunnel.
Which I rode in at Universal Studios.
That is probably one of the most iconic things from this whole entire series that I remember, is that spinning tunnel.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was used over and over again. So Steve makes his way through and ends up, I guess, I don't know, you'd call it fainting, but he's knocked out by it. And he wakes up to find that he is a prisoner of the beautiful Stephanie Powers.
Heart to heart.
Whew, no kidding, huh? And she's not alone. She's also got Severin Darden.
Yes.
And Charles Cypher, big fan from a bunch of John Carpenter films. And they explain to him that they are aliens. And that they are here on Earth to observe. And they're worried because if this bomb goes off, it's going to expose them, possibly even harm them.
Yes.
And Steve's like, well, why are you telling me all this stuff? Well, it's because I'm going to wipe your mind afterwards. So he's not very happy with that. And this is another part. This is where they do a memory probe of Steve, and that's where we see the pole being thrown again.
Of all his adventures.
Yeah, exactly, up to that point. So in that memory probe, we see clips from Population Zero, the Bionic Criminal, Dr. Wells is missing, and the Bionic Woman.
Okay.
As well. So a good little overview of what he's done up to that point.
Did they show Steve peeping through the window in the flashback?
I think he was able to get that part taken out.
You got that taken out, okay.
What a creeper. What a creeper. And we find out.
But Jamie had a little cameo in this one, too.
Yes, she does. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, that was an uncredited cameo. And they don't. She's like on a telephone, I think. Yeah, calling in or something.
Yeah, where's Steve? And
he's busy. Fighting Bigfoot.
Prank call.
So, according to Kenneth Johnson on the DVD commentary, Jamie's scene was added at the last minute later on to stretch the episode out a little bit further. He says that scene was shot after Lindsay Wagner returned to work from recovering from an automobile accident that left her with that lip scar And it's actually one of the only occasions in which a crossover occurred without the actor receiving a special guest appearance credit at the start. She actually got no credit at all for this episode.
Huh.
Yeah, I know, right? That's probably
Oscar didn't even pay her.
That's what say. That's probably Rudy.
Yeah. Rudy or Oscar.
What are your thoughts, Patrick? On the episode, what did you like and dislike about it?
Man, I liked everything about this one. It had Bigfoot, you know. Anything with Bigfoot in it, I'm there. And a bionic Bigfoot.
Yeah. So that tunnel was part of a new addition to the Universal Studios tour that was called Glacier Avalanche, based on the come on, what's the name of that movie with Iger Sanction?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood, exactly. And it stayed there for over 20 years.
Wow.
And it was filmed in the A-Team, Knight Rider, and the Misfits of Science TV movie.
Oh, okay.
And in 97, the ice tunnel was renovated to become part of Dante's Peak volcano. And then again in 2001, it was reused in the Mummy ride.
Really?
Yeah.
When I rode through it, it was just, I guess it was in between its stints, and we were just on a tram, and we just went through it while it was spinning, while they were touring the studio lot.
Yeah, that would have been cool to walk through, especially in the, no. So, I don't know that they say it, but this was actually filmed in Franklin Canyon Park.
Okay.
In California. So the plaster cast that at one point that they take of Bigfoot's foot is actually Andre the Giant's size 24 foot.
Really?
Yes, that's like not something that they made up. The heel was extended a little bit, but the rest of it was exactly as it was from his foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
Andre.
of course, Steve is able to figure out a way to stop the nuclear bomb from going off, and the aliens are able to survive and then go. But they still mind wipe him. So when he comes out, he doesn't remember anything that happens.
Until Sandy Duncan comes back.
That's right.
And gives him his memory back.
That's right.
Does he think he's Barney Miller?
I think he's Barney Hiller.
Hiller? Okay.
Yeah. But he doesn't tell himself that.
He has a hankering to drive a race car, all of a sudden.
So this is not the last time we see Bigfoot. We see Bigfoot on a total of 5 different episodes. But this is the only time that we see Andre the Giant playing him. The rest of the times he's played by anyone?
Ted Lurch.
Oh, was it really?
Ted Cassidy.
Ted Cassidy.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell that there's a difference in the body shape and whatnot.
Sure.
But the toy, again, an awesome toy. I mean, you want to talk about this thing had maybe 4 points of articulation. I think the arms and the legs moved, and that was it.
Yeah.
But boy, if you hit you hit him in the chest, and that plate pops off. You know, oh man, that was another great toy. So this was a movie that was actually they turned it into a theatrical release.
Really?
In parts of Europe, in Mexico, and in parts of South America. And if you go online, you can do a search. You can actually see a bunch of the movie posters.
That's what I was going to say. So that means there's a poster out there.
Yes, there are. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, get off of eBay for right now. This is an interesting episode, too, because if you really think about it, it's one of the few episodes that there's no villain. He's working against things, but no one has like a bad ulterior plan for it. And it has that really cool. Of course, everybody remembered it with the toy. You could pick it up and look through Steve's head to look through his eye. So there you go.
Thank you.
He is actually able to use this one when the aliens become invisible. And he does this little doot, and instead of the crosshairs that you usually see, it's got like a different one, and that's how he's able to like look
it's the
for
first time Steve I can used for see time displacement.
Right, exactly. And I was fixing to say that, but anyway.
Too slow.
Jerk.
Too slow.
Wow. I'm not surprised at all that at least 3 of us had this one as our favorite episode.
So I had to be the jerk and be wrong.
The ones that
well, you
count
didn't have to, but you reveled in it.
You had to be the Oscar Goldman.
Yeah, I had to be the Oscar Goldman and lie to everybody and keep a secret.
So I am
going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you this, Kevin. So this episode does not show up anywhere on your list.
No.
Okay, why?
I don't know.
Did it not speak to you? Or
I guess, but I remember as a kid, when I made my list, of course I didn't watch every episode again.
Yeah.
Like Chuck did.
Of course.
Well, that's every few months he's rewatching them, you know.
But I just kind of went off of what I remembered as a kid, the ones that stuck in my mind, and that's kind of what I made my list off of.
What kind of kid were you? Don't remember Bigfoot?
Yeah, not much of a kid.
I mean, it's Bigfoot.
But I remember the whole tunnel thing. I remember that stick, but I don't know. It just didn't make my list.
Okay, so there's nothing you dislike about the episode.
No.
Okay.
How could you dislike that?
I don't know, man. How could you not have it on your list?
I know that's
you know.
True.
How could you? I mean, that'd be like forgetting Thunderbirds on your list.
Oh no, that's a crime.
Hey,
I know.
You have Thunderbirds on your list?
No, it's just number 1.
It's my number 1.
So this is number 6 for you, not 5, but 6.
Yeah, this is number 5.3.
So it's my fault for not letting you have an honorable mention. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's all your fault, Jay.
Okay, yeah, it's all me.
It would have been my honorable mention.
It's all me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, all right. Well, that brings us to the conclusion. We have some really interesting, a lot of crossovers, but that doesn't surprise me. Even with all of the different episodes from all 5 seasons, there are some
6 TV movies,
yeah,
plus 3 seasons of Bionic Woman, plus a $6 billion man movie that been in the works for about 3 decades now.
And a Bionic Woman remake.
That's right.
On
NBC.
That's right. TV series.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember Jake 2.0?
Yes.
I never watched it.
Lee Majors had a little role in there.
Did he?
It was kind of like passing the torch to like a new $6 Million Man ripoff.
Oh, that's funny. I never knew that.
Was that on NBC also? Was that
Sci-Fi, I
believe. Oh, that was Sci-Fi. Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
So I think that there are a lot of episodes that we could also talk about that were very good.
Yeah.
One of the ones being, for me, was a Bionic Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. Y'all remember that one?
I've got a record album.
Uh-huh.
Of that. Like
oh, really?
Story.
Okay. So that's the one where Steve ends up at one point going into a toy store, and at the camera's set on him, you can see the $6 Million Man toy right behind
Action figure right behind him.
Right, yeah. Action figure, right. Not a doll.
No,
right.
Not a doll.
That's crazy.
Anybody else have any memorable ones?
Well, you'd already mentioned it earlier, but that second movie, the Wine, Women, and War thing, just because of the music and how it's totally different. He's a James Bond type character. It's a crazy, crazy movie. It's so unlike. It's nothing like any
like the
rest
first
of the
and
show.
third one. This second one
doesn't belong there. Yeah, they did like this huge Scarface pound of cocaine when they were writing that thing, I guess. And so I don't know what that thing was about, but the music's worth the price of admission.
I think they were maybe just trying something different.
Yeah,
to see what
James Bond was big at the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like, hey, let's make him this.
Yeah. And I'm so good. Could you imagine if it had gone over well, what that show would have ended up being like?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we wouldn't have had a Thunderbird episode. Probably.
No, we wouldn't have. Or Sharks.
It's exactly.
Yeah, that was a good one. So, well, great. Well, I guess that's going to bring us to a close, unless anybody else wants to talk about Thunderbirds.
Could you tell me about Thunderbirds?
You talking about the wrestlers, Thunderbirds?
Yes, that's them.
I knew it.
Oh, the anime show, the puppets.
Thunderbirds are go! Well, guys, I'd like to thank y'all for all coming and doing this one time that we were able to get together and do it.
Oh, God, I could never do it again.
No.
This was so much fun. How could you? I mean, it was so much fun.
You couldn't replicate it.
No.
Not that you would
sure?
Not that you would need to. No.
You don't have deja vu? Are you sure?
No.
Chuck,
you're the only one, Chuck.
Chuck, I know you're getting old, but geez.
That's true.
Because I feel like we've been here 3 or 4 times.
Nope, never. I mean,
this.
What? There's not like there's pizza on the table or anything. It's totally the first time we ever did this. Well, I'd also like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. We love putting out this show and will continue to release episodes every Friday. You can find us through the AOC Podcast Network, or you can go to our brand new shiny website, www.fave5fromfans.com. That's right, guys. I have a website now. You can subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podbean, and really anywhere that you can catch a podcast. Please remember to review and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen so that more people can hear about Fave 5 and we can continue to grow the show. So if you'd like to interact with us, you can do it on Twitter at Fave5From Fans, on our Facebook page, and on the gram, as the kids say. And I know, Lily, that they don't say that anymore, but it's on the script. We here at Fave 5 are excited to be part of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network. You can find us at sipnet.us or on Instagram. The SIP Network is a varied group of podcasters like The Terrible Terror Podcast, The Podcast from Another World, Dead Hand Radio, The Paranormal Activity Podcast, ooh, Angry Dad Podcast, Back in Time. Yeah, I'm going to keep singing it. And us, Fave 5 From Fans. Ha! See, Evan, I bet you thought I forgot you. It's from the wastes. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Patrick, say goodnight.
Good night.
Kevin, say goodnight.
Good night.
Chuck, say goodnight.
Join us again in 2 Fridays where we redo this episode of The $6 Million Man.
That's getting cut. This is Hulk Boy from Hollywood, signing off.
Play the song, play the song, play the song.
Mission Control. Steve, what is it? What's wrong?
I was hoping you could tell me.
He's alive. He lost an arm, 2 legs, and 1 eye, but he's alive.
I'm not sure he'd want to live if he can't be the man he was.
What if he could be more than the man he was? We have the technology to rebuild him. I want it done no matter what the cost.
He's the man. $6 million man. He's the man. $6 million man. Catch him if you can. Beat him if you can. Love him if you can. Now he's the man. $6 million man. He's the my man. Oh, he's my man. Yeah, let me tell you about him. Can't do without him. He's one of a kind. Now he's the man. Now he's the man. Oh, catch him if you can, beat him if you can.